The recent Battlefield news about EA laying off developers at Battlefield Studios isn't great, and the community reacted as such. Of course, everyone is feeling very, very terrible about this sort of news. Just leaves a bad taste in every single person's mouth. Lowers the confidence levels regarding Battlefield 6 and whether or not it will ever become the game people hoped it would be. But that doesn't mean it's over for Battlefield 6, far from it. The game isn't even 6 months old. In today's video, we're going to be taking a step back. Think of this as a breather video. We'll be discussing the upcoming additions to Battlefield 6, the new map that will be dropped on the 17th, and how my expectations have changed for this game since the news and since launch in general. So let's take a break from doom posting, which is probably justified, to see what we actually have to look forward to. So, if you enjoy the video, be sure to hit the like button, hit the sub button, and of course I'll be covering all the things regarding the new stuff being added in Season 2, which we'll be going over in this video. So first I want to address how my expectations have personally changed since the game released, and a theory that I have as to why we are just never going to get the amount of content that we expect we're going to get. Now, this part of the video, at least, is going to be slightly doomer, but unfortunately I think this is most likely the reality. Obviously, nobody's satisfied with the drip feed of content, but if you look at it from an evil business perspective, the return on investment for making all this shit probably isn't worth it for them. Like, it probably costs a ridiculous amount of money, and if you look at the player count, if you look at all of this stuff, there just isn't a significant bump to justify, in their perspective, making anything more than they're already making. Because remember, EA's in the business of making as much money as possible. Whether or not they understand they would probably make more money if they actually put more effort in, yeah, that's an entirely different conversation. And as the developer layoffs suggest, the live service of Battlefield 6 was already decided well before the game was ever going to be released, and EA's plan was more than likely just to make as much money as they possibly could up front due to the initial sales. TLDR, EA bad, we already knew that, so where I'm at with the game right now is what can they actually realistically do to make sure Battlefield 6 is at least a improved experience as the game's seasons go on. And to be fair to EA, DICE, and all the other studios working on Battlefield 6, they continue to deliver really well-worded, insightful communication regarding exactly what they're going to try to do with Battlefield 6. The reality of this, though, is that we're going to have to wait longer than a lot of us would like to wait for the changes coming to the game. The reason for this is whenever they give us these communications, they keep mentioning testing and iterating and receiving feedback, and this all translates to weeks and months. But in the end, if they are actually truly iterating and listening to all this feedback from the community, the changes we eventually receive should be, in theory, actually great for the game. So, what are these things that are coming to Battlefield 6 that we've heard about so far that will genuinely be game-changing that we just haven't received yet? First of all, they released a community update not too long ago that I made a full video going over, addressing hit registration, netcode, time to kill, gunplay, recoil, soldier visibility, audio, and basically they told us a bunch of stuff about Battlefield Labs and how they plan to iterate on all this stuff. Every single subject that DICE went over here is a key area of the game that drastically affects gameplay for every single player. Unfortunately, they did mention in this post that they cannot just go changing stuff willy-nilly because apparently there is an order of how they have to do things with underlying systems and making sure they get everything, well, correct. This is where the time comes in. We're going to have to wait for this. And yeah, it's going to be fucking annoying. And yes, the gameplay Battlefield 6 right now is not that great. Or at least it's getting a little old with the current issues that are present, and I'll be the first person to tell you that, because I play this game every day still somehow. But then there's the flip side of things, which is, why the fuck do we always have to wait a year, or a year and a half, or 2 years for Battlefield games to reach even like 75% of their potential? Yeah, you're right about that. It is bullshit, and it shouldn't happen. But at least this time around, their communication is the best it's ever been, and it appears they're focusing on the most important elements of the gameplay. And make no mistake, the gameplay of Battlefield 6 is the largest issue. I saw some people saying, oh, the reason why everyone left the game is because the maps are so small, or the reason everyone left the game is because the gunplay sucks. No. These are all contributing factors. You can't just point to one or two things. But what I know for certain is no matter how large or small the map is, if the gameplay isn't good enough, people aren't going to be interested for long enough. Which is why improving the gameplay and the experience of playing Battlefield 6 is priority number one. Which brings me to the second half of this video, which is going over another IGN article interviewing a Battlefield 6 developer. This time, it's a interview with Ripple Effects studio director Justin Wiebe. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Now, before I go over this article, there is a massive disclaimer at the top of it that says, this article contains comments from an interview conducted before EA announced layoffs. So, I mean, I understand if you guys don't want to take a word of this article seriously. However, I do think there are some interesting comments made by this Ripple Effects studio director. The gist of what he says is that they're going to support Battlefield 6 for a, quote, very long time, and that, quote, anything can change based on what is going on with the community, what is going on with the feedback, and what we're seeing from the game. He does say more in the article, but this is basically the TLDR of it. So, to summarize things, we have one of the studio's design directors telling us they're going to be working on the game for quite a long time, and that they are essentially going to try to move with the community's feedback, on top of them delivering decent communication as to what changes are coming. Obviously, all of this stuff could just age like milk, and we could pull up the receipts of these articles in a couple months, and I could make like a giant rant video. Hopefully, I never have to do that, and what ends up happening with Battlefield 6 is there's just going to be a period of basically suffering and waiting with them telling us the changes that are coming, which could be right now, and then a couple months later, the changes that we have always been hearing about finally start hitting the game, and then we really start to see some game improvements start to happen with Battlefield 6 at a good pace. Then the final piece of this puzzle is, of course, the content being added. There's no way getting around it. It's just going to be a lot of drip feeding for the entirety of the game, which is, of course, completely unacceptable, but there's also nothing we can do about it, unfortunately. The next map that we're being drip-fed hopefully will be a good map. It's called Hagental Base. It's releasing on the 17th. It looks to be like it's going to be the meat grinder for this game, like Operation Lockers was for Battlefield 4. I fully anticipate the community to completely overreact and go, oh my god, you know, where's our giant fuck huge map where I can run around for 3 minutes and not see a single other enemy? But I think in the reality of things, you kind of don't want those maps in Battlefield 6 because the vehicle gameplay is so shit. So I'm totally fine with them adding more close quarters, more, you know, medium-ish to small-size maps, because that's simply how the game is the most enjoyable right now, guys. Sorry. It's not that I don't want them to add large maps, it's that the gameplay of the game doesn't facilitate fun on larger maps as it stands right now. If they're going to add larger maps like they plan to with Gauntlet Railway, they better improve the vehicle gameplay when they add Gauntlet Railway, if that makes sense. So there's essentially the argument for maybe pumping the brakes a bit with the Doom posting of Battlefield 6. Totally understand if you guys keep doing it, and of course, I'm not trying to force you to think this way. I'm just trying to tell you guys both sides of the equation. Obviously, I made that video previously going over all the layoffs, and I gave my opinion there. I think ultimately we're going to have to play a waiting game that we shouldn't have to with Battlefield 6, but in the end, it could potentially be worth it if they make the correct decisions and the correct improvements. All will be discovered regarding all of this stuff when the waiting game is finally over and we see these changes for ourselves in-game. So, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the content, be sure to hit the like button, hit the sub button, and swing by the streams. I stream every single day at twitch.tv/enders and this YouTube channel. All links are in the description. And in terms of the perfume channel, or my fragrance channel, which is also linked in the description, see a couple people every now and then ask where the videos are for that channel. I just don't have that much time to make videos, but I do have a lot of cool stuff that I've gotten recently, and I do want to make a couple of videos for that channel. So if you didn't know, I do have a more personal second channel surrounding one of my interests, so that'll be in the description as well. And thank you guys so much for watching again.